Hello, my lovelies. Hello, hello, hello. All right, this is Honey from the You Only Live Once Life and Business Innovation Style, the best-selling author of those books, as well as in Chinese, 活出自我. And today we're going to be talking about 5 different ways to how to stop overthinking. I'm an energy alchemist, author, speaker, transformational coach, and so many other things. But anyway, so first of all, you got to recognize that you are overthinking whenever you feel that there's a negative loop and you're feeling very down. The biggest challenge is that we don't recognize when we are overthinking and when we are in the zone of anxiety and panic, because the biggest challenge is if you don't know how to stop that and you don't know how to shift that, then you're going to go into a downward spiral, and a downward spiral leads to more panic thoughts, and more panic thoughts lead to more negativity leads to limitations leads to smaller possibilities, and smaller possibility leads to guilt, shame, confusion, stuckness, feeling like there's no solutions. Whereas if you allow yourself to stop, which is step number 1, stop and recognize that you're actually in a downward spiral or overthinking, then you're going to be able to come up. So I'm going to give you a couple more tips on that. So the number 1 thing is identify that you are overthinking, and you know that you are. And you know this because you are either scrolling through, or you're sitting down and you're thinking in this circle and there's no solution, or you know that the general vibration of your thoughts, which means that the general vibe of your thoughts, you're feeling quite sad or quite down about it. And when that's happening, you don't have to feel that way. So you just identify it. And you probably already know this, right? And then number 2 is identify where your predominant vibration is. So if you haven't really looked into vibrational work or don't understand what that means, is every single block or every single moment in your life, you could either be having very positive thoughts, negative thoughts, or neutral thoughts. And there are also ways to understand like which part of your thoughts and what vibration they carry. So I have a little diagram from the book Force versus Power, or Power versus Force, that really showcases a really good way of identifying where in your thought process you actually are on specific things. So let me show you what this looks like. All right. So let me do this. So as you're breathing right now, as you're watching this, right, where are you identifying yourself as in your thought process? So each emotion and each type of experience at any given moment in time has a logarithmic component or a parallel to it. And each level of consciousness relates in this book, Power versus Force by David Hawkins, in a way that is able to identify where you are in this channel, right? Are you in the zone of power, right? Or are you in the zone of force? So the biggest challenge here is understanding that when you are hopeless, a lot of clients are telling me that, hey, you know what, I'm feeling, I really reached out to you because I'm starting to feel a little hopeless about my dreams or hopeless in this situation. So if you're in a hopeless zone, you're actually operating right now in this particular frequency. And this chart, when you look at it, is actually a chart that is correlating to the different zones of potential of emotions, vibrations, as well as where it's a good rubric to measure where you are right now. So if you were to take a deep breath and feel what is the predominant emotion that you're having at the moment, or the predominant life view you have at the moment, or what specific scale on this level that you're relating to, then you're able to identify where you are. So it can be in relation to a specific topic, or it can be in general. So the hardest and the biggest challenge is people are usually not connected to their hearts. So you got to really breathe in and connect to yourself in order to understand, okay, where am I on this journey? And where am I on this chart? So for example, over the weekend, you might be feeling, so we had lots of different growth moments, right? So conflicts, lots of triggers were erupting, and the general feeling was around, there was, especially with family members, and so the general feeling was around guilt, shame, grief. There was pride involved, and there was also anger. And at the same time, there was also love, right? So there's multiple, and then there was also neutrality and courage. So there's multiple levels of emotions that were present at the same time. Now, when we are in our power zone, we have a lot more opportunity. So in that specific case, we, being growth-oriented mindset people, like if you haven't read Carol Dweck, you should definitely read it, looked at these lower vibrational emotions, right? So fear, grief, apathy, guilt, shame, and went into it. So step 2 is identifying where you are on this chart. Because when you know that, then you know whether you're in a place of force, where you have to force things to happen, or where you're in the place of power, where things naturally appear and they naturally are able to be influenced and by you, and you're not affected by them emotionally. Okay, so identify where are you in this chart. Now, the next thing is to decide if you identified yourself in any of the lower zones, such as in the 4 zones, feeling demanding, feeling craving, anxiety, regret, despair, or even blame, then you have the choice of deciding whether or not you want to stay in there. Now, if you are very regularly used to cooping or steeping in your anger, or you have a history of depression, this is obviously not medical advice or anything like that, or you have negative loops of thoughts, then this is something different. This is a moment of awakening and a trigger point where you're like, do I actually want to stay here or not? And you literally have to stop that pattern of thinking, stop that level of recurring automatic thought process, and you have a deciding factor of whether or not you want to switch or heal. So for those of you who have already done the healing work, then you're able to switch, and you're like, I don't want to be in this pattern, I will switch. But for some of us, all right, if you know that this emotion is something that has been plaguing you for a while, you might need to do some deeper healing. So step 1, identify and recognize that you are in an overthinking zone. Step 2, identify what in this overthinking zone, where in this chart are the emotions in your overthinking. So in the example I gave earlier, this overthinking might be, oh man, like, why didn't they understand me? Why didn't they understand me in what I wanted to express? Or maybe it's about career, and you're overthinking and thinking about how are you going to get out of this situation, or you're getting more and more stress as more responsibilities pile up on you, and you're afraid and you're having anxiety that you might not be able to cope with it all. And that's where the overthinking zone is. So when you're overthinking, identify the predominant emotion. Then next is to decide whether or not you want to get out of it. Now, the number 4 is to release it, right? So after you have decided that you wanted to go from a place of force to a place of power, then you have the ability to release it. Now, releasing can come from a place of mental releasing, a strategic form of releasing intellectually. Oftentimes that doesn't work because emotions lives in our heart, and overthinking causes physical responses. However, if you want to see if you can talk yourself out of it, go for it. Then the second way is energetic, right? Energetic release is removing the energy of the emotion, which means that you got to feel it. And then number 3 is breathing through it, allowing yourself to be present, very similar to the energetic and the emotion around it. But also what it does is that it really clears. It's a conscious way of clearing out the debris, the physical debris of that emotion. So allowing yourself to feel that as well. So it's emotional, energetic, and breath work all together. So And then physically, you can also do that. That's another way of doing it, which is basically, either doing handstands, doing physical activity to clear out so you can shift your point of attraction, shift your energy to something that is of higher level. Now, once that is done, then you can choose to refocus. And when you choose to refocus, you can choose if you want to refocus on one of these items in the higher levels. So you can choose if you want to go to courage, right? The courage of, it is feasible. I can affirm myself to allow this to work. The solution to be available for me. I give myself permission to grow, things like that. So refocus on a thought. You can go higher into trust, right? I trust that there is a solution. Let me look for the solution. I am satisfied with where I am right now. I'm able to find things I want to grow in. Hopeful, I am, I believe that there is a chance for me to get to the solution I want to come into. Optimism, similar, right? So the willingness to make a change, and then acceptance of the situation, forgiveness, right? Harmony, I'm allowing myself to forgive myself for going through that overthinking zone, and I will be in harmony with my thoughts. Meaningful. These thoughts have a meaning. There's a reason why they're there. Let me, create meaning from here, and I understand the situation. I understand things. So allowing yourself to be in the vibration of reason. Now, love, reverence, right? Wow, I've done such a great job to heal myself and pull myself out of this overthinking zone. And wow, even these thoughts, they're fine. Things are great, things are okay. And joy, I feel complete. I feel be able to receive, it's great. I feel calm, right? Calmness. You work your way up. So a lot of times in my coaching situations, a lot of clients come with some of these lower vibrational feelings of hopelessness or despair, or sometimes they have even evil, the sensation of, blaming or regret or anxiety and demanding or disappointment. And then we bring them up one level at a time, and then they might bounce back and forth, especially when you're going for what you really want. So as you're going for something that is so true to your heart and so amazing that you are almost scared of taking a step forward, a lot of times you will see yourself flip-flop in this chart. But it's very, very important not to stay in the bottom layer too long, because you're wasting your energy. And when you do notice that, follow these 5 steps and you can get right back to a place of neutrality. It's not toxic optimism because you're working through these emotions. Remember to release them. It's very important. In the next video, if you want, we can talk about some other ways on how to release. But for now, this is it, and I'll talk to you soon, all right? This is Honey signing off. We also have a wonderful way for you to continue working on this. I will put this gift in the link below. It's around allowing yourself to feel the prosperity, the abundance that's here for you. So allowing a whole process that gives you the access to that top layer, and listening to it, breathing with it will allow you to shift. And from there, your solutions will be much closer, because you can't think a positive solution with a negative mindset. Einstein said the vibration or frequency of the mind that thinks of the solution is not the mind that is in the problem zone. I'm paraphrasing, but I'll talk to you soon. See you soon.